Jai Jagannath. Welcome to my today's class on entrepreneurship and startup. Today we'll learn how an idea is converted into a sustainable business. We'll understand not just how startups are born, but how they earn money, survive without funding, prepare project reports, raise funds, use data, remain sustainable, and finally grow into multinational corporations. So let's start. Every successful business rests on three pillars: business idea, team, and resource. Business idea must be innovative, feasible, viable, and scalable. Selling, for example, selling an ice cream is feasible, but a cloud kitchen selling region specific diets is scalable. Team skills matter more than idea alone. Skills, if the team doesn't have adequate skills to perform, then your idea doesn't help. Then another important thing is resource: financial, technical, and human resource. An entrepreneur must look at business not only with optimism but also from investors and customers perspective. That is why business plans and feasibility studies are critical. So entrepreneur must evaluate the feasibility and financial viability. Business plan should satisfy investors and customers. If it will not satisfy the investors, they will not going to invest in your business, and it is not going to satisfy the customers, then there is no need of doing this business. Next is ideas to action. Many people have ideas, but very few convert them into actions. Idea to action means market research. That is, first do market research of the idea, then do feasibility study whether your idea will act or not. Do a feasibility study, then plan your fund, then comes execution. So conversion of ideas into viable business actions requires planning, funding, and execution, and entrepreneurial thinking is critical. Next stage, monetization. What is monetization? Monetization means earning revenue from a product or service by delivering the value. It does not means earning profit immediately. So in every business, our focus should be always on creating the value first. Revenue is not equal to profit. This understanding must be there with entrepreneurs. Profit generation is not the primary aim of any startup. Every startup must first concentrate on creating brand value. A mobile app may be free initially. Users get value from that. Later on, when the peoples are friendly with the apps, it can add ads and subscription fees, etc., to generate the revenue. So monetization is the process of earning revenue by offering value to the users. That is much more important. Monetization, revenue versus profit. This is very important distinctions. Revenue is the total income that I have told in previous slide. Revenue is the total income and profit is the total income minus expenses. So we can take an example of Amazon. Amazon earned revenue for years but showed losses because it reinvested that money in other ideas, that is logistics, customer experiences, etc. Monetization and startups. Startups must decide when to monetize. Early monetization leads to slow growth. Delayed monetization leads to user growth. So always try to get your value, where to get your value of the business through monetization, and try to delay your uh, profitability. For example, you can take example of an Instagram never charged users initially. If it had charged 50 rupees per month, it would not have grown. So some startups are acquired only for the technology, not for the revenue. Guidelines for monetization. Customer experience is first. If a customer feels exploited, they will leave your business. So that is the first step to see before going for monetization. Next is long term thinking. Short term profits can destroy the brand value. So long term thinking is important. Creativity. Example, creativity is revenue generation. You have to add creativity to the revenue generation. For example, you can tell that freemium models, that is, if I offer something online with two features. Generally softwares are generally offered in this way: first is free and second is paid. If somebody want to subscribe that free, you will get this type of benefits. If somebody is a premium member, he will get some additional benefits. So these are creativity in monetization. People can access into your software free. If somebody want, like your chat gpt is a AI, it is free is there, and premium subscription is also there. So anybody can use ChatGPT free of cost also, but all features are not available. So these are called creativity in revenue generations. You have to think the how to monetize your business. Then ways of monetizations: commercialization of technology, that is, give licensing softwares. Then subscription models like Netflix, Amazon Prime, they give. Then commercial partnerships, and like your Paytm is connected with banks. Then bundling of products, that is, Amazon combines different products, that is, it gives platform from shopping, it gives platform from videos, gives platform for music. It has combined its products. So bundling increases the perceived value of your organization. Next is bootstrapping. What is bootstrapping? Bootstrapping means starting a business using your own money or internal revenue. It avoids bank loans, equity dilutions. For example, generally chartered accountants start a consultancy using savings. Is a example of bootstrapping with his own saving. Like a kirana store starts a kirana store with its own funding without taking any support from banks or other financial institutions. This is called bootstrapping. Origin of bootstrapping. This phrase, pulling oneself up by one's bootstraps, means doing the impossible alone. In business, it means self reliance. We can tell it that self reliant. If an entrepreneur is going with bootstrapping, means it is totally reliant on himself. Then features of bootstrapping: no external investors, founder takes all the risk, higher flexibility, cash flow pressures, personal savings and revenues. Small kirana stores, I have given the examples already. Then bootstrapping techniques: Leasing instead of buying machines, it is a bootstrapping technique. For buying a machine you need more funds. So if you are under bootstrapping, then you have to depend upon your own fund. So own fund is not that much of sufficient to buy a machine, so definitely you will go for leasing and equipments. Then buying a second hand equipments, with small funds we can buy a second hand machinery. Then getting advance payment from customers for any service or any product, and with that advance money you start producing your product or services. Then using co-working spaces, that is already somebody is there in the similar type of business and you just want to share the space with him and use that. So bootstrapping technique means generally a person who depends upon his total own resources. Many startups operate from their home at first without going for separate places for their business. Then advantages of bootstrapping. Bootstrapping has lot of advantage also. That is, first is 100% ownership is with the owner, that is full control. Then no investor interference, that is equity dilution नहीं है. Creative problem solving, that means he has time to solve a problem. Nobody is going to pressure him as he is the only owner there. Strong discipline, building investor confidence later. So investors prefer founders who first bootstrap successfully. Generally, those persons who start his business through bootstrapping, investors prefer to invest in that type of business later on. Disadvantages of bootstrapping: limited expansions, founder bears full loss, stress and burnout. A bootstrap factory may lose orders if it cannot scale it fast. Then stages of bootstrapping. First is beginner stage, saving plus job income. At this stage, it uses its savings and income from its side main job. Then second is customer funded stage. In that stage, it gets revenue from the growth, that is from the products initial revenues. Then third is credit stage, that is loan or venture capital for further expansion of the business. Next is we'll see one of the case study. It is for the Joho. We know about the business. This Joho was first founded by Mr. Sridhar Vembu. It bootstrapped the cloud company Joho. At that time, it uses completely its own fund and own resources to start the business. And later on, it it becomes highly profitable and scalable. So Joho never raised venture capital from outside. Even during the dot-com crash, it survived through internal revenues. It never depend on any other investors to invest or to support its company. Now it is going. So here in this company, obviously outsiders will be more interested to invest because this company has gone through all the difficult stages and it handled it very carefully and perfectly. Next is case study is My Baby Cat. Here founder uses his personal savings of 15 lakhs rupees. It avoided investors to maintain control, focused on sustainable growth, not value creation. Project report. Meaning, a project report is the business blueprint, roadmap, or tool for monitoring and control. Without it, a business decision cannot be made. Business becomes a guesswork if a project report was not there. For example, bank will never give loans without a project report. Need for project report. Project report is required for planning, monitoring, uh, investors' confidence, risk identification and control. Users of project report. Generally, there are mainly three users of project reports was there. First is investors for knowing the profitability and risk. Then banks and financial institutions for knowing for repayment capability of the business. Then management and employees for knowing about the vision and mission of the organization, where the organization is actually going. Next, we will see the characteristics of project report. A project report should be systematic, comprehensive, and based on feasibility and expert analysis. Acts as a guide for taking business decisions. So let's discuss these characteristics in more details as given in our study materials. A project report provides a summary abstract of the entire project with key information and analysis. Different aspects are evaluated by experts due to high risk in large projects. Experts evaluates a project reports by evaluates the business by its project report to know the risk in that I have already told in the summary way in previous slides. Then assess the economic and financial feasibility of the project, that is of the business, whether this business is economically and financially feasible, whether investor is going to invest in this business. It is a formal written document of project activities and feasibility. Suggestive in nature, helps in selecting the right project. By seeing and going through different project reports, we can able to compare different projects and we can take decisions which project I am going to select for implementation. Then prepared after collecting complete and accurate information, forms the basis for profit calculation, that is production and cost estimates. Includes details of production, operations and marketing before starting the projects. Acts as a guide for the entrepreneur in execution and management of the business. Provides a systematic approach for investment decisions and future improvements. So basically what I can tell in preview, what I have already told in the previous slides, it is mainly comprehensive and systematic, based on feasibility analysis, guides for future decisions. Then objectives of project report. Objectives of project report are, it acts as a roadmap for showing goals, direction, and it shows the mission, how to achieve these goals. Helps in attracting the investors and lenders. who will give financial assistance to the project, focuses on the target market and ensures business viability, assists in developing strong market strategy and approach, helps analyze market competitions, that is, who are the rivalry of this business present in the market, and differentiate this project from them, so that the investor can able to take decisions that whether they are going to invest or go for the project or not. Aids in selecting the best investment proposals required for approval and registration from government authorities. This is also an important to clear the government authorities, getting clearances from government authorities. Project report is a very crucial document. Helps in tracking the project progress, where the project is moving. This is also tracked under this project report. Provides clear visibility and understanding of the project activities. Assist in early identification of risks and corrective actions. Helps in cost management and controlling expenses. Useful for obtaining financial institution from institutions. Test the profitability and overall soundness of the project. Next, we'll see the contents of a project report. A project report, we can say, in nutshell, mainly contains four things. First is technical, next is financial, next is market, next is managerial. But in our product material, it has been clearly summarized. It is not in summary, but it is explained in very detailed way. So they include each and every aspect. But mainly these four things are there in a project report: technical information, financial information, market related information, and managerial information. So we'll go with our study material. First is background of entrepreneurs, then entrepreneurs name, address, age, qualifications, general information of this project, then which product profile is covered in this project, then who are the promoters, their educational qualification, then where, in which location this project is going to start, then whether any locational advantage was there or not, what is the amount of land and building to be invested, what is the cost of that, plant and machinery, their cost, which production process is going to be followed under this, with detailed discussion about those production process and making of four technical flow charts and production plan. Then other utility consumptions required, that is your power, steam, air, water, etc. Then what is the transport and communication required under this project, detailed cost analysis of those. Then comes your material part, manpower part, then finished good, then the market where the product is going to be sold. Then main and important thing is where what will be the working capital requirement to fund this project. And this working cap, then next question is that what is the requirement of to project fund. First is working capital requirement, next is project fund. Working capital means to after completion of the project, to produce the product, what is the amount of capital is required. It is required on regular basis. Then project fund means it is required one time for investing in the project. So these are the detailed information required in a project report, which covers mainly these four things: technical, financial, market related, and for managerial in decision making. Next comes formulation of project report. How a project report is formulated. First part is general information, which includes biodata of the promoter, his industry profile, business structures, product details. Next is project description in detail about where the project is located, what will be the raw material, from where it will be sourced, what is the labor requirement, utility requirement, whether any research and development activities carried out or not. Then third is market potential, whether in market was there for this the product or not, or whether competitors are there, what will be the expected price, whether our price is more competitive than theirs. Then fourth is capital cost and sources of funds. This includes both capital, working capital and project capital. Next is working capital requirement for day-to-day operations. Other financial aspects, that is projected profit and loss account, projected balance sheets, cash flow statements. Hmm, hmm. Then comes economic and social variables, that is what will be the environmental cost, that is pollution control cost, etc. Social benefits, if anything coming from the project, that is employment generation, export incentives, local engagements, local CSR development, all this. Next comes project implementation. Time schedule for project completion ensures timely execution, avoids most cost overruns and delays important important for project success. Startup funding meaning. Startup funding refers to capital required to launch and grow business. It is essential for initial setup, operations, and future expansion. Without adequate funding, even a good idea may fail to execute properly. Funding supports activities like hiring, product development, and marketing. Funding needs of startups. Startups often face cash flow challenges due to uncertain revenue. Capital is needed for infrastructure, machinery, and technology. A significant portion goes into product development and innovation. So, proper planning ensures funds are used efficiently. Stage wise sources of funds. Funding evolves with the startup lifecycle. In idea stage, personal savings, friends, family are generally mainly sources of funding. Then, in the preceding stage, bootstrapping, friends, family, pitching events are the sources. In the validation stage, where the prototype and proof of concept is ready, there also in this stage also very limited sources are available for funding. Then comes seed stage, where incubator, government schemes, angel investors, and crowdfunding, these are the sources available for funding. Then, in early traction, venture capital, banks, NBFCs, venture debt funds are available. Then, in the scaling stage, private equity and large investors are available for funding the projects. Key idea in funding shifts from self financing to institutional financing. Then comes steps to startup fundraising. First step is assessing fund needs clearly, define short term and long term milestones, prepare financial projections, plan major expenses like production, R&D, etc. Then decide investment purpose, where the fund is going to be invested. Next comes method of financing for startups. First is self-funding, where own or family money is generally available for funding. Then crowdfunding. Small contributions from many peoples are available through crowdfunding. Then angel investors, early stage investors with mentorship are coming forward to help the startups. Then comes venture capital, where large funds are available for growth. Then incubators and accelerators are available for funding supports. Then debt financing, banks, NBFCs, microfinance, credit cards are available. Then others, that is government schemes, various quiz contests, pre-sales, asset sales, these are the source methods of financing. Next call, next we'll discuss in detail on what is crowdfunding. Crowdfunding means raising money from many individuals in small amounts, usually done through online platforms, can be donation based or investment based. Advantages of crowdfunding is works as fundraising and also a marketing tool to reach to the large number of customers. Provides early validation of idea, lower financial risk, helps in pre-selling products, easy and compared to other traditional loans. Then what are the disadvantages of crowdfunding? Campaigns are rigid once launched, requires continuous effort and communication. Risk of idea copying was also there. More suitable for consumer focused businesses, that is not suitable for B2B type of businesses. Funds may be delayed until the campaign ends. Then data analytics. Data analytics involves analyzing data to make better decisions, helps business gain insight and competitive advantage, useful in predicting trends and improving strategies. Then what is importance of data analytics? It increases operational efficiency. It improves the customer satisfaction. It also helps in reducing the cost and improving the profitability. Types of data analytics. Descriptive. Descriptive means what happened. Then diagnostic. Diagnostic means why. Why it happened. Then predictive. Predictive means what will happen. What will happen. Then prescriptive. What should be done. What should be done. So these are the main types of data analytics. So what are the techniques used to be used in data analytics? First is regression analysis, which helps in determining the relationship between different variables. Then comes time series, which helps in know the trends over time. Then cohort analysis, behavior of specific groups. Then Monte Carlo simulation, risk assessment. Factor analysis, identify key influencing factors. Application of data analytics. It is applied in banking and finance, healthcare, manufacturing, e-commerce, transportation, tourism, media, energy and utility, digital advertisement, fraud and risk detection. Business plan. A business plan is a written roadmap of business, defines goals, strategies, and execution steps, helps in attracting investors and guiding operations. Sustainable revenue model. This focuses on long term value creation based on triple bottom line, that is, product, profit, people. It ensures business is financially, socially, and environmentally sustainable. Sustainable business practices. For example, Apple. Apple's main aim is to reduce carbon emissions. IKEA. IKEA is mainly focused on sustainable materials, using sustainable materials. Then businesses are now focusing on environmental, social and governance initiatives. Sustainable impact initiatives. Sustainability ensures long-term survival of business, focus on profit plus social good plus environment. Concept of doing well by doing good requires strong leadership and clear goals. Then startup focuses on growth or job creations, usually technology driven and dynamics. A startup is a new and innovative and scalable business. Problems faced by startups: poor planning, lack of funding, regulatory and legal issues. Many startups fail due to lack of strategy and resources. Startup to MNC journey. Scaling operational is critical, requires expanding into global markets, needs strong leadership and management, continuous innovation is key. Let's see one case study of Airbnb, which was founded in 2008, initially supported by Y Combinator, grew into global accommodation platforms. It is now an example of successful startup scaling. So let's come to the conclusion. Entrepreneurial ecosystem encourages innovation, sustainability ensures long-term growth, strategic planning and executions are essential for success.